We've got the banjo strumming Cedric in the studio this Wednesday, and it's a surprise because we announced last week Cedric's not going to be here, Becky's going to be here, fashion. People were sad, to be honest. They love Becky, but they love you more, Cedric, so I think they're happy to see you.
Well, that's good to hear. I thought you guys would be disappointed to see my face.
Not at all, Cedric. And we got a little air banjo today as well. I've never seen an air banjo.
Feeling it.
Have you ever played a real one?
I've touched one or two in my lifetime, yeah. But it's totally different because I play guitar.
Okay.
But banjo's totally different.
Really? Mm-hmm. Is it not like the same kind of principles and stuff?
Yeah, different principles, different ways of playing it. The strings are different, things like that.
Wow, I don't think I've ever touched a banjo in my life.
Really?
Now you said that, I'm jealous.
Well, I'm from the South, so, there's more opportunities for me in the States.
Is a banjo like a kind of folk instrument down there?
Yeah, it would be more of a folk style, sometimes country-ish.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think, where does banjo music fit in with? And it is that kind of country style in the States, isn't it? I don't think it's a very British thing at all to have a banjo out there. It's not associated with being a gentleman and his banjo. How's your week been? What happened to the trip to France?
Okay, so it's been postponed a week, so I'll be gone actually next week. So Becky will definitely be taking my place next Wednesday.
Yana does fittingly ask, why don't you just bring in Becky and have 3 people in the studio? Yeah, we could do that, but we can't afford it here at Arirang Radio. So if Becky's okay with coming in for free, that's fine every week. So she's going to be here next week. Have you done anything interesting over the past week? Go out on the weekend?
Let's see. Over the past week, what did I do? I can't even remember what I did on the weekend, but nothing too eventful. I think I just kind of got caught up on work. And actually, I did have a little bit of a chill time on Saturday because I did go shopping.
Ooh, buy anything nice?
I bought a pair of shoes. I'm actually wearing them right now. Can I just let me just show everyone? Look at that.
Look at that. They are untouched. I would almost touch the soles. They're that clean. That's cool.
Know. Yeah.
I stopped when I had a kid and he got to walking age, Gio, about, I guess when he was a year old, I stopped buying white sneakers or trainers because what kids do is they'll always be close to you and then they'll want to hug your legs when you're standing up and they stand on your shoes.
Oh, man.
I hate it when white sneakers get really filthy, I think it's kind of a fashion thing these days to have vintage, older looking sneakers, but I'm not into that. So once my kids stepped all over my shoes, I went for greys and browns where you can't notice if they're dirty or not.
That is very smart. I mean, I was feeling very stressful on the subway today because it was very packed. And I'm like, don't step on my shoes. Because you know what happens when you get new shoes. That's when everyone just wants to step on them.
Is that a thing in the States as well? Like people will want to step on shiny new sneakers?
Yes.
In Korea, it's like a big tradition. In the UK, I thought it was just my friends being idiots, but maybe it is a thing there as well. But here in Korea, it's like a big thing. If you've got new sneakers, someone will want to come and step on them. It's like a tradition or something. I recently got white sneakers for the first time in 5-6 years. I love them when they're clean, but they're already grotty after a month or two.
Yeah.
It's a bit sad. I need someone to clean them. I think you can take them to dry cleaners here and they will put them in the washing machine or something.
That is good to know.
We'll go and check it out. Raul says, my new shoes are amazing. I love them. Well, let's have a shoe off today. Send in pictures of your shoes.
Let's go.
As well as buses, and then we can have a great time. Siska saying, yay, new shoes. And Yana saying, wow, shiny new ones, indeedy. Today's hashtag, before we get into things, it's a bit complicated to get the full meaning in English, but in Korean it's 역주행. Have you heard of that phrase?
역주행. No, I don't think I have.
It literally means going the wrong way down a one-way street.
Okay.
So if you're driving, it's you going in the opposite direction to the traffic. Very bad thing, obviously. But figuratively, it can mean when something becomes popular at an odd time. Like you release a song and it falls out the charts and then suddenly it comes to number 1. So it's going the wrong way up a chart or something like that. Or the other thing that we've been talking about today is when films and dramas are made from books or webtoons or something like that.
Yeah.
And then people go back to the original work and that becomes popular again.
Right.
Are there any examples of that kind of thing, maybe, where you've seen something on screen or read something first and maybe the original was better or the original was worse or something like that?
I think
It's a bit tricky.
It is tricky, but something that comes to mind is whenever I see, like, for example, maybe a big musical special. I remember Beyonce. Everyone knows her.
Yeah.
Because I never really followed her career as an individual, but
really?
Once I saw her documentary, which came out on a very popular streaming service last year, or it might have been this year, I decided to just kind of check out her actual individual work and kind of look at videos and interviews of her.
That's exactly what we're talking about.
That's probably a good example of that.
Yeah, because the thing that's been happening in Korea, the trend at the moment in Yeokjueng and Wrong Way is, Shidam, the Korean wrestling, where it's kind of like sumo, but not quite. You grab onto each other's fabric belts. That used to be massive. Like Kang Odong used to be a big star in that.
Yeah.
But now there's a couple of guys who are really handsome wrestlers, and so people are going back to old footage and trying to find them in previous fights because they're topless and they're scantily clad.
Wow, that's funny.
Is the Beyonce documentary good then?
It was very good.
Netflix,
it was pretty much her performance at a big old what do you call those festival shows, a popular one in the States, and so it kind of tracked her journey to preparing for that. And so it was very, very good. I highly recommend it, actually.
I don't watch music documentaries very often, but I do like Beyonce. I must check that out. Okay, thank you. That'll give me a little Yeokjueng as well. I'll go back to the streaming service, watch some of her performances as well. What are we saying? Hartley's saying, no. Stepping on shoes in the States leads to really negative situations, and I'll leave it at that. I think if you do it in the wrong area, with the wrong people.
Oh, you're going to have to be ready to fight.
Yeah, I think so, Hartley. Thank you for that. I've seen some US dramas and also some real crime situations I've watched where sometimes people will steal your shoes if you're in the wrong neighborhood and you've got some really fancy kicks. Like they'll just say, take it off. And then you have to walk home like in your socks or barefoot.
Yeah.
That would be awful, wouldn't it? Here, you don't have to worry about that at all.
Luckily.
I don't think that's ever happened. Although, speaking of shoes, just one last thing before we get to your video. Cam's here in Korea from the States, and he's traveling on the subway a lot. He said he saw someone yesterday who, you shouldn't run when the doors are closing, but he tried to jump in, and his shoe came off in the door and got left at the platform, and the train went. And he said the one thing that got him was, in America, lots of people would laugh at that situation, but it seems in Korea, he said, nobody laughed. Like, they didn't want to offend him in any way, so they just had their heads down. But that sounds like a quite funny situation, I think.
I would have laughed. Trust
me. So today's theme, buses.
Yes. Yeah.
What kind of buses are we talking about? Like the ones in Seoul or the ones intercity?
Yeah, so we're gonna talk about pretty much just the public transportation buses in the city.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So what's your first video going to show us?
So we're gonna take a look at the bus stop, a busy bus stop here in Seoul. Actually, I was on my way to go shopping for these wonderful kicks somewhere. So we're gonna take a look at how the bus stops are and what you can find at a bus stop.
All right. Here's Cedric's first video. It's one of those bus stops in the middle of the street, isn't it? Okay.
You'll find that in busy areas here in Seoul.
Where is this?
So this is in Hongdae.
Okay.
Everything seems to be in Hongdae, but that's my neighborhood.
And so they usually have the separate bus stops in the middle of the street, so the cars can't go in that lane.
Right.
Another area here in Seoul.
And this is a very busy
bus
stop.
There are loads of buses basically queuing up.
It's very convenient, and we're right here at a bus station in Hongdae Station. So come along.
There's lots of people waiting.
Yeah, and this is also a Saturday, so it's going to be busy.
Bus time.
So you can see the name of the bus stop and also the different bus lines that run.
Look how many buses there are there.
It's crazy. And those are all the stops for each line.
That's a lot of information, isn't it?
Yeah. And Becky pretending to not know where we're going.
I love this, where it tells you exactly how long it's going to be till your bus.
Very convenient. And of course, you can find the bus number clearly on the bus.
Not too much English written on the buses, though, I see.
Right, but luckily numbers are universal.
That's the double-decker one,
yeah, that was for you, Peter. I don't know if you caught that.
I love a double-decker bus being British, yeah.
And that is a T-Money card.
That's what you use to pay for the tickets?
Yeah, that's what I use. Some people use their debit cards. They have it attached to their debit cards.
Me too, because that's really convenient. Then you don't have to carry an extra transport card.
Right.
And if I'm not mistaken, I've seen people on the subway do this. You can use your phone if you have the Korean brand of phone and you have like NFC turned on, then you can just dick your phone. I love it that my smartphone can now be my wallet as well, because I don't like bulky pockets and stuff like that. That double-decker bus, have you ever been on it?
I rode it once, actually, because I know there's one that runs throughout Gangnam, and I don't know what other parts of the city it runs through, but I did ride that in the summer, I remember. So, and of course, I only went up to the second part.
Was it the one that's open top on the second, or just one of the closed ones like that?
Open top?
As in like a convertible car. It's like
no, like in your country. No.
Yeah.
Definitely closed. Not as cool as you guys.
They do have 1 or 2 tourist buses in Seoul that have the open top as well, which is quite amazing. I think they run it in the summer and like spring and autumn when the weather's nice. But those double-deckers, they're relatively new, I think, in Korea as well, and they sometimes run between a satellite city and Seoul, and it's just so you can get more passengers. Is it quite nice in there, or is it just like a normal bus and you're just sitting high?
It's a little nicer than the normal buses, but it's not like luxury. It's not like one of those buses that you can take from like Seoul to Busan.
Okay,
those
where they have real amazing seats and like tables and stuff like that. The bus stops here really well organized, and we often say this to our listeners, and they often tell us, when they're trying to take the buses, they get confused because not too much English. There's so many different choices at many bus stops. Yeah. And the maps, like we saw there's so many stops written down that it can be a bit tricky to find out which bus to take in which direction and stuff. And you saw on there, the maps, most of them, I think, are like that. They're circular. So you can get really confused, like, which way are you going? Where's the end stop and stuff like that? Because many buses will just do a U-turn and then start their route straight away.
Right. And I'm not going to lie. When I first moved to Korea, I avoided the buses.
Me too.
Yeah, I was very intimidated up until recently, really. And I realized that you can figure everything out pretty much on your phone.
Is that what you use? Yeah. Me too as well. So there's an app there, like a map app that I use. And you just click where you're going from your location, and then you push this little like public transport sign, and it'll give you a mix of like subway and bus options, right? And then I just follow that because it tells you what number to get on, where to get on. That makes it so much more simple. Is that in English, the one you use?
Mine is in Korean.
Okay.
But I think there is an English option.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure with mine as well. I do use it in Korean because you get a bit more info, I think. But I'm sure there is an option to type it in English, right?
Right.
So any tourists out there, I highly recommend that app. I'll write it up on YouTube so we're not promoting it too much, but it's really, really useful. Let's get to a song break. We'll get Cedric's next video, and we got lots from listeners to play later on. This is Sumusa's Bus Stop. Back for part 2 of K-Patch. Cedric's in the studio. Sky Cedi, his YouTube channel. Check it out for those videos going out at the moment. Stories from the Soul,
Stories from the Soul, yeah.
Have you released the 3rd edition yet?
The 3rd one is being released this Saturday.
Ooh, okay. Look forward to it indeedy, guys. We've got a few more listeners up on V Live as well. Phoenix, Asili, and Valbero saying greetings from Costa Rica. Tell us what buses are like in Costa Rica. Anything similar to what Cedric just showed you, I wonder. Got loads of messages to read out as well. Unita says from Indonesia, I bought a phone case in Korea, and later on I found out that I can put my T-money there. So when I was in Korea, I just tapped my phone like Korean people did. I won't lose my T-money again. Oh, it was like built into the phone case, perhaps. That's really clever. Then it's not even the phone. It's just a case that you're tapping on there. That's a clever idea. Because you've got the Fruit phone here in Korea, right?
Yeah.
That doesn't have the function to be able to pay for things here, or does it?
Not that I know of, but I haven't really tried because, again, it's a little intimidating for me.
Sure, yeah. I think, it's only the Korean version at the moment of the phone that works with that.
Yeah, so Yana says she took the Tiger Seoul bus, and I don't know what that is.
Oh, I think that's the touristy one.
Oh, is it? Okay, okay. So you hop on, hop off during the winter, and it was a lifesaver because it was apparently warm inside.
Oh, lovely. Yeah.
Very nice.
It's this bus I'm showing, Cedric. So it's like a city tour bus.
Ah, okay.
And there are different versions as well. There's one, I'm sure, that looks like a tram. Yeah, this one, which it's just great for photo opportunities. It kind of looks like something you'd find in San Francisco going up the hills, right?
Yeah.
Have you ever been on that one?
No, I haven't.
Have you been to San Francisco?
I haven't even been to California.
Oh, wow. Really?
Surprisingly, yeah.
Is that not on a bucket list somewhere?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's about the only place I've been to in the States.
Very cool.
The weather is so good. Leon says double-decker buses are fun, but tabok, which means slap in my face, because my area, no one goes to the upper deck because it's just a short distance on the bus. Oh, so it's a hassle to go up the stairs. For different reasons in the UK, you wouldn't go to the top because often the kind of troublemakers would sit at the top at the back seats, and if you got on, they'd start cussing at you and stuff like this, so I'd be too scared.
Wow, that's funny. Raul says double-decker is an interurban bus in Argentina to travel through cities.
Oh, okay. In the UK, it really is just like the regular buses in Korea. So you'll maybe go a couple of stops on there, and it's famous from there. But the fun fact is, it started in Paris, apparently, double-decker buses, but we cornered the market. Everyone thinks UK and London, right? We're really good at that, stealing other countries' ideas and making them our own, as well as other countries' land. Let's take a read.
Very cool. The Pretty Traveler, aka Brandy. I basically only ride the bus here in Daegu, and it's pretty easy. And they do write the stops in English, which sounds very helpful.
That is. They do have some English translations here and there on buses and bus stops, but it's not as comprehensive as the subway system. You know, there you've got maybe announcements in English as well. All the stops are written out in English as well, and the maps inside. Siska says the bus number 22 from Nambu Terminal is my favorite. I've got a picture with some other Arirang listeners there. Oh, send that in, Siska, and we will show the rest of our listeners. And we got one question from Yana that we got in hour number 1, but she wanted to save it for when you're here, Cedric.
Okay.
I think we can answer it together. She says, I am going from Seoul to Gyeongsan to Daegu to Jeonju and back to Seoul. And in the past, I bought bus tickets to Yasu and to Busan, but I can't remember how I did that. I've forgotten. So how can I get bus tickets for intercity stuff? And I was racking my brains. Have you ever done that, Cedric? Like bought bus tickets in advance?
I have.
How have you done it?
One of two ways. Either through an app. There's an actual bus app, and I don't know if there's an English version. I remember last year I did purchase tickets that way.
Was it straightforward if you could read Korean then?
Yeah, it's pretty sure. It's not difficult at all. And, you know, if you have a translator there or like using a translator online, you can figure it out. So that's one way. Another easier way probably is to actually go to the bus terminal.
That's what I think as well, Yana. So when you get here, also, I think don't do the hassle of going in advance. Like usually, unless it's peak time, like Seollal or Chuseok, the big holidays here, you can get it on the spot.
Yeah.
If you turn up, like not just before it leaves, but about half an hour before it leaves, you'll be fine.
Right.
There's buses running so regularly, unless it's some really obscure place you're going, but it didn't seem like it from the list. You can buy them on the spot, and that saves all the hassle of having to look at an app or booking in advance and going a different day, right? So you should be fine, Yana. Don't worry too much. We're going to look at your second video. Are we getting on a bus?
We're getting on the bus, and you're going to see how the experience is.
Okie dokie.
So come along.
No one step on his sneakers. Having a little jog. Oh, does the number stick out like that?
Some of the buses, so make sure you ding your card there.
Okay.
And it'll tell you your balance that you have left.
Oh, that's good. Look at those rainbow-coloured handles.
Yeah.
It's really bumpy.
And sometimes they pull away pretty quickly, so make sure you're holding straight away.
Absolutely,
right?
absolutely. I've actually almost fell probably 2 or 3 times.
Me too. And a lot of the buses in the city are a bit crowded, so getting seating space is sometimes not that easy, right?
Exactly.
Make sure you practice your balance.
There's a security camera there, so
indoors.
So for some of you guys that are naughty, just be aware of it.
Click your card, just the same as when you got on.
Yeah, you have to do that, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, you could be charged the wrong amount if you don't click on the way out.
Exactly.
Dick.
I want you to see how I just cut that person off.
Yeah, you're not getting off the bus before me.
Yeah, so so that was pretty much your typical inner city bus riding experience. Now, there are 2 different types of buses that I've ridden in the city. That's what you just saw as one of them, and then there's another one that's more of a local, even more of a local bus.
I think they call it like a maul bus, right? Like a village bus, but it is running in the city of Seoul, but it's like a tiny little green one in my area, right?
Yeah.
And the seats are really small and there's not much room in there, but it goes around like the back streets sometimes as well. It can maneuver a bit more easily, right?
Right. I actually take one to get here to the radio station from the subway station.
Ah, is that a little mail bus as well? Can you check when that's coming on the app? Does it have like a countdown?
On the app, it does actually. Yeah.
That's the other convenient thing. Like, you know exactly how much time you've got from your house to the bus stop before the bus comes. It's like got this little countdown, which sometimes gives you a bit of pressure. Like, you're like, I should run quick, the bus is coming. But it's also quite convenient. Yeah. You can see the inside of that bus. To be honest, compared to subways, it's not as modern and high tech, I think, as like, and clean and friendly as the subways. Although it is clean, but it's just a bit older, it seems like, in there. There's nothing fancy, I feel, about the buses in Korea.
Nothing fancy. And there's also another thing that I want to point out are like the seating, right? We couldn't sit down because, as you could see, there were so many people in there, but there are designated seating areas on the bus. So there's pink labeled and yellow labeled seats.
And that's usually for who?
Pregnant women or people who are disabled or for the elderly.
Yeah, I've seen it. Usually it's like a little corner of the seat has this yellow like cover on it, right? And that means it's priority seating. I think it's okay if it's empty to sit in that seat if no one else is there, but as soon as someone in need gets on, you should be standing up as soon as possible, right? And they don't have that many seats on the buses. Like the front area where you got on, it's usually just got one row of seating on each side, so not even double seating. So I think it's to accommodate as many people standing as possible. So in rush hour, to be honest, I used to hate getting on the bus. Like, you'd be so squashed in there. And if it was wintertime and you got a big coat on, you'd start sweating like anything. Yeah. And I wanted to avoid that. Like, on the subways, it seems to be a little better because you can put your stuff up on the little shelves and stuff like that. But to be honest, for me, I still prefer the subway to the buses. But you saw from Cedric's video, you get a view at least of the city if you're traveling around.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why I want to take the bus more, actually, because in the subway you don't see anything. Here and there when the subway goes out, you can see the city, but for the most part you're in darkness. Yeah. And so with the bus you get to kind of get a little tour at the same time.
Yeah, and if you're a traveller here, it's good to see as much of the city as possible. There are the adverts that you'll see, which I think are quite cool on some of the subways and the buses, like on the roof section, like advertising this, that, and the other. And I've seen some buses now that have a big TV screen at the front, even the local buses, and they'll like show some programs and short like comic strips and stuff like that, which is quite fun. Hartley says, we do have double-deckers here in DC, but just for sightseeing tours. What was the bus system like where you grew up, Cedric? I know that public transport in the US is often seen as not as good as other places.
Yeah, definitely not as good where I grew up. Pretty much non-existent. I think they started implementing buses in my city that I grew up probably at some point after I moved there.
Really?
Yeah.
You couldn't get like any type of bus?
No, the routes were very limited to like super main areas. So you definitely needed a car or just had to be prepared to walk.
Wow, that is insane. Like in Seoul and in many places in Korea, there's the intercity bus at least, right? And then within the even rural areas, there's the Mall bus that we talked about earlier, the village bus. It's so convenient. Like Cam, when he visited, he was asking, should I rent a car in Seoul? And I was like, no, there's no need.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it's probably worse for you. You'll be lugged with a car and having to park it and stuff like this. So it's super convenient. We're going to get to some stuff from Leon, Siska and Raul, our listeners from Singapore, Indonesia and Argentina. After a song break, we've got 9 with Commuter Bus, Tongun Bus. For part 3, K-Patch with Cedric in the studio. We've dispatched him on the topic of buses today in Korea, and we've seen some really cool videos. Thanks for that. Thanks to Becky as well every week for appearing in these videos. She is indeedy. We've got loads of messages to read out. Leon saying in Singapore, the back seats, it's usually really uncomfortable on buses because the engine is there and it gets so hot. There are those seats on Korean buses I've noticed as well, and especially the intercity ones, where the heater is at a certain seat underneath and you get really toasty. In the winter, everyone wants that seat. In the summer, nobody wants to touch it with a barge pole.
Yeah, so Yana says, I always choose buses in Seoul when I'm not rushing rather than the subway. It saves your leg from going up and down in the subway.
Yeah, because there are a lot of stairs going up and down the subway. It's great for exercise, like really, really great. But if you're like my mum, who's got some walking issues, you need to find, there's usually one exit that has an elevator, like for the elderly and disabled. If you can find that, that's great. But if not, it's a big hassle for the elderly, I think, to walk down those stairs, right? Zana says the back seat of the bus is when you're traveling, but when you're commuting in a public bus, you should be near the door because you want to get out as soon as possible. That's good tactics, actually. Is there that back seat kind of stigma in the US? Like, do troublemakers sit at the back of the bus? Is that a thing?
Not that I've noticed.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, like when I was riding the school bus.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
With the cool kids sit at the back.
Yeah. All the bullies and stuff.
Oh, no. You want to avoid that, yeah.
Oh, man. So I've had experiences with that. Raul says some students actually have free tickets in Argentina, but not all cities.
I'm not sure. I know definitely for kids here, my kids who are under the age of like 7 and under, is free on the subways for them for sure. The buses, I'm not sure. I'm a terrible parent. I have taken on the bus, but I can't remember if we paid or not.
I would imagine it would probably be the same, but don't quote me on that.
Yeah, I know for my mum, as a senior citizen, she gets free subway rides. Yeah. But she doesn't get free bus rides. So there is a difference between the buses and subways in some occasions. I'll have to check that out. Petty Traveller Brandy is saying, yeah, again, the perk of the buses is you can see the city as you travel around. I must admit, though, the subways, when they go over the Hungung River, that's a wonderful view. But the rest of it, when you're underground, yeah, it's just black.
Very true. Arena, in Germany, is cheaper to buy a one-day card and think buy card for each stop than to buy a card for each stop. Sorry.
Yeah, so you're right. In the UK as well, we have something called a travel pass, which means you can get unlimited bus and subway travel for the day. Here in Korea, I don't think there is that ticket, but I think now that everyone pays on like the T-money, I think there is a cap or something. Like if you go a certain number of times, it'll give it to you free. I could be mistaken because they didn't used to have that. Might have been introduced recently. Should we take a look at some of our listener footage?
Let's do it.
Leon from Singapore, this is your bus video. We're taking a look, I believe, at a bus stop first up. That looks like a very British bus stop, like very plain, no frills at all. And this looks like an app. Oh, okay. So the bus, that really looks like a British bus.
It looks pretty wide.
Yeah, I think...
Look at all that space.
The problem with Korean buses is it's tricky for a wheelchair to get in sometimes, right?
Yeah.
But that, yeah, it looks low to the ground as well.
You know what? That looks very similar to some of the buses I've seen in the States as well.
Yeah, it looks more like an international kind of thing. Oh, more seats as well in the front area.
It looks a little comfy.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind sitting on those cool purple and blue seats on there.
Are those cushioned?
That looks like it, right? Because a lot in Korea are just plastic, like hard seats,
yeah,
right?
I've never been on a comfortable, like, inner city bus seat.
Yeah, it's completely opposite when you go intra-city between them, because then you've got sometimes reclining seats and they've got a little leg thing to put your feet up as well. It's amazing, right?
Those are great, man.
Yeah, they're a little pricey, obviously, than the intercity ones. But yeah, the thing about Korean buses, I'm not even sure if they have that function where a wheelchair can get on, where in the UK, a bus will stop and then it'll lower its suspension, and then they've even got a platform which goes further down to the street level and the wheelchair just rides on. Here in Korea, I think it would be impossible because some of the steps are pretty steep on those buses, right?
Yeah.
Public transport, I think for subways is easier because of the elevators that we mentioned earlier. Thanks for showing us that, Leon. Although one issue I had, I went to Singapore on the way to my honeymoon in the Maldives, and we had like 2 hours, so we went to the city. You had to pay cash unless you had the T-Money card in advance, and they wouldn't give us change for like a big note that we had, so we had to ask some other passengers to pay for us, and luckily they did because it wasn't very expensive. Here, you can still pay cash, can you, in the buses? I think so. They used to have that little Perspex box where you put in your note and the change would just automatically come out. But the vast majority using their like pop cards and stuff, right? We've also got one from Siska in Indonesia. These buses look like they're having a race at the moment. They look a little bit old. What? Someone is hanging out. Is that okay?
I guess that's a normal thing.
Because in the UK, they used to have that at the back of the bus where it was just open. But it was a bit dangerous, so they stopped it.
Yeah.
Those look more like coaches to me, this version. That's like a mile bus, like a little one.
That's like what you would take if you're going from city to city.
Yeah, they got some nice, like, luxurious ones there as well. So a big range, it looks like. Trans Jakarta.
Got a lot of different colors and everything. Now that looks...
Is that for a bus and not a subway? Oh, wow. So you get into the bus stop going through a barrier, and then you don't have to put your card on the bus, maybe? That's interesting. The interior looks quite spacious like the Singapore ones as well.
I feel like Korea probably has the most narrow buses in the world.
Yeah.
That's what it would seem like.
I think you're right. Maybe like we don't mind getting squashed together as much. Well, I know I mind, but maybe it's okay for some reason. I don't know. Thanks for showing us that. And we've also got some photos. This is you in the number 22 bus from Nambu Terminal. I guess coming to Arirang with loads of other Arirang listeners. There's Rusi and is that Puput as well? And Lenny. It looks very spacious. What bus are you on? Why are there no passengers?
I know. Except maybe one guy in the back chilling.
This is the number 22. That looks more like a Korean bus. That last one, I think, was maybe a Singaporean or Indonesian bus. That looks like it's a bit later, so you've got seats there. And you can see the yellow covers. I think they're the designated seats.
Right.
Which you guys are sitting in. Naughty, because there's empty green seats behind you.
It's all right. It's all right.
Raul from Argentina is going to make up our listener contributions today. I'm looking forward to seeing the buses. Wonder if this is a double-decker. Let's check it out. Okay, so again, it looks much more spacious than a Korean bus, like the width of it, right?
It looks a little more comfortable too, I must say.
They look like they've got some kind of cushions on there, right?
But it might be plastic.
It could well be, yeah. But a bit narrow coming in there, I see. And only one entrance and exit at the front of the bus there. That could lead to a little bottleneck. Because here, like you showed, you go out the middle door, right, usually, and you get in on the front door. But the Maul buses, I think, only have one door at the front, right?
Actually, no, they have the two doors as well.
Really? Even on the little ones, they fit in an extra door. That's how convenient Korea is.
And if you're impatient, you can go in the, I guess it's normally the exit door, but people will go in that way because you have a T-Money card machine there as well that you can click. So
I don't think it's like against the rules to do that, right? If you're in a rush, I think you're allowed to jump in there and just dig it. But the bus driver usually prefers you to get in at the front door. But I've seen people also get out at the front door. So maybe it's just kind of free and easy in a way, right? Brad has sent us a message here saying, so happy to hear you guys again. I'm here just late and very busy. In 2 days, it's Thanksgiving here, or our Chuseok, very busy time. I'm still thinking of you guys and I wanted to check in. Thanksgiving, Cedric. Are you doing anything? Are you celebrating?
I'm not doing anything. I mean, Thanksgiving is obviously not a thing here in the way we celebrate in the States. But I know my family is, and so I'm a little jealous.
Oh, you're not even going to have some turkey or pumpkin pie?
No, unfortunately not. My mom was making some mandu for my sister and her in-laws.
Oh, is that your family tradition around this time?
Well, you know, my mom usually makes something special, and so I'm missing all of that, but... I'll be home for Christmas.
Oh, really?
So hopefully I can get a taste of Mom's food then.
Oh, nice. Are you planning a little trip back then?
Yeah, just a week's trip.
Oh, that's lovely. Okie dokie. Cedric, that's all for buses this week. Next week's topic then, Becky is going to be here.
Becky's going to be here.
Don't delay France again.
Okay,
Seriously,
I won't.
I'm going to send you myself if you turn up next Wednesday. And Becky will be doing the whole fashion thing.
Yeah.
So she went to Seoul Fashion Week, right?
She's been to several actually, and she's also a model herself, and so she's the perfect person to talk about these things.
So listeners, if you're a model, then you're fine. If not, then you can't send in anything. We're just joking. Just show us maybe even your sense of fashion and stuff like that. What's your wardrobe look like? If you've been to any fashion shows, then great, or clothing stores, anything like that could be fine. Send it in via Kakao Talk. Our user ID there is DailyK. Cedric, have a great time in France.
Thanks a lot.
I can teach you some French. Bonjour.
Bonjour. That means thank you, right?
It means hello.
Oh my gosh. We'll talk more about that.
Well, I'm not holding up much hope for you to converse in French. We'll see you in a couple of weeks then, Cedric.
All right, have a good one.
Here's SF9 with Raw.